It's a DNF. Okay, let's see it. I need a 5-star, okay? Am I the problem? I don't enjoy being a bitch on the internet. Hi, we are finally doing another episode in my Read It or Unhaul It challenge. If you don't know what it is, here's the announcement video. Watch it if you want to know the rules and what I have in my TBR jar, because in that video I talked about every single book that I put in this jar. And now it is time for episode 2. Hopefully this vlog will be a little bit longer than the previous one. If you watched it, you know it was pretty short, so let's find my next read. Okay, I have something. I'm going to show it to you first. Okay. I don't have my glasses, so I can't see it in the viewfinder. Is it upside down? I genuinely can't tell. Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Woof. This has been on my TBR for quite a long time. Okay, let me get it. So, we have Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessl. Marisha Pessl is the author of Night Film, which was a very popular book back in the day. I quite liked Night Film, but I think I bought this because it was sold online for very cheap, and I've heard that it has some like dark academia themes, or at least academia, I'm not sure how dark, and honestly that's all I know about this book. How long is it? Oh, almost 500 pages. Okay, so we'll see if this is going to be a DNF, which it might be, I don't know. I'm just going to grab another book from the jar. But yeah, I'm going to tell you the synopsis of this book after I read a little bit of it. So, see you hopefully soon. It's a DNF. Listen, I tried, but I could not get into the writing style. It's very... It's a choice, okay? It's very pretentious, and I think that's the point, but it's quite difficult to get through this book. So I got like 30 pages into it, so I can't even tell you much about the plot of the story, because so far there hasn't been much of a plot. But the synopsis for this book pretty much says that it's about this girl called Blue, and she's so special, she's so smart. I wish I was joking. This was published in 2006, and actually I'm not sure if this is actually YA, because this is set during this girl's final year in high school, and one of her friends drowns and one of her teacher dies. And it's kind of like dark academia, I don't know, is this a kind of a mystery type of story? And this was just filled with so many like literary references. Her father works at university or like academia, and he's very pretentious and she's also very pretentious, and on every page there's some kind of like academic ramble, a lot of like references to academic texts and some pop cultural references. It is just too much. Like, you have to dig through so many pages of like meaningless meanderings to get to the plot, like 1 or 2 sentences of the plot, and it's just... why? Thankfully, I didn't pay much for this book, so I will be parting with it. And this is fine. This is the whole point of this challenge, to finally get to the backlist on my bookshelves, get to the books that I haven't really been excited about, but I didn't want to get rid of before I actually gave them a try. So I did, I'm DNFing it, I'm getting rid of it. There's going to be more space on my bookshelves, that's great. So that means that I have to choose another book to read, because that's the rule. If I DNF a book, I have to choose another one. So let's do it. Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, I looked first, sorry, but it says The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. Interesting, very interesting. Okay, I actually read the first chapter of this book and didn't really like the writing style. So this book is another book with a high chance of being a DNF. But yeah, I'm going to read it. It's been like, what, 2, maybe more than 2 years since I first gave it a shot, so we'll see. Yeah. Listen, a writing style is something that can be very off-putting for me. Like, if I don't like jibe with the writing style, there's no way I'm going to actually enjoy the book, so just so you know. Okay, let's do it. Okay, it is a little later. I reread the prologue and the first chapter because I've read them before, like I told you, and read chapter 2. So now I am 28 pages into it, and I do find it a little bit easier to get through than the last time that I read it. This is actually my third attempt at this book, because first I tried the audiobook like years ago. It didn't work for me. Then I tried reading the physical book because I thought just the audiobook wasn't working for me. So I tried reading the physical book, and I had the same problem where like I was reading the sentences, but they didn't really make sense in my head. Like, I felt like my brain was broken. And this time, I can finally say that the writing style doesn't bother me that much, but it's still not quite my thing. It's quite distant, which makes it hard for me to connect to the characters, or character. And yeah, it's quite dry too, so it's just not really my thing. But yeah, basically, I'm sure you know, because this is a pretty popular book. Colson Whitehead won the Pulitzer Prize for this book, I think. So the prologue kind of starts with present time, where this group of archaeologists uncover the kind of like remains of children who died at this reformatory school. And then we go back in time to the 60s and meet Elwood, and I'm guessing later he's going to go to this reformatory school and we're going to uncover some gruesome history. Yeah, he's unfairly sentenced to go to this juvenile reformatory school. I am hesitant to DNF it because I do think it's an important story, but I'm pretty sure even if I continue, this is not going to be more than a 3-star because the writing style isn't quite my thing. So, I don't know. There's also this another book, I think it's called The Reformatory. It's a horror novel, which also, you know, focuses on this kind of topic. And I've heard some really great reviews, so I don't know. If I DNF this book, I feel like I should at least read that other one, because I do think it's an important story to tell. Or I should just read some non-fiction about this topic. So, I am going to read a little bit more and then decide whether I want to continue or not. Maybe 1 or 2 more chapters. Yeah, that feels right. See you. Okay friends, excuse my hair, but as a shocking turn of events, I actually finished The Nickel Boys. I didn't have any like reading footage, so you just have to believe me that I have read it. But I read it quite quickly in a few days. So here's what happened. I kind of wanted to get to part 2 of this book, because this book is divided. This is part 2. This book is divided into 3 parts. So the first part is Elwood, the main character's childhood. Then we have the part at the Nickel Academy, and then we have kind of later years, right? So I wanted to get to the Nickel Academy, and when I did, I was already like a third of a way through into this book, so I was like, you know what? Might as well finish it. Also, the further I got, the more I felt like I cared about the main character, so I ended up finishing it. I'm still going to give it 3 stars. I actually thought this would be a 4-star book because I quite enjoyed the second part at the Nicole Academy. But the third part, that is set a little bit more in the future, we kind of jump around, and that's kind of my problem. The third part felt very disjointed. I think some of it is set in the 80s, but then we go back with like flashbacks to the Nicole Academy, and then we go to the future. I think it's 2010 when they uncovered the bones of the boys who died. And like, sure, we skipped around between chapters time-wise, but also within chapters sometimes we skipped around, and like some paragraphs would be talking about the past, then the next paragraph would talk about the future, and I was just very confused. And it did feel very disjointed to me. Kind of felt like the author wanted this like highbrow, non-linear writing style, but to me it was just confusing. Yeah, there is a plot twist in the last part. I don't know how to talk about it. Yeah, I don't think I can talk about it without spoilers, so spoiler alert. I did not guess the twist, but when the third part came, I suddenly, yet again, felt very disconnected from the main character and started losing my interest. So when the reveal came, you know, we find out that Elwood died and Turner? Yeah, and Turner kind of took his name. I was just kind of, oh, that makes sense. Because Elwood in the third part didn't feel like Elwood. So I didn't guess that twist, but I just had the feeling of this like disconnection from the main character in the first part. So, you know, 3 stars. I'm still kind of glad I read it because it's an important topic. It's really terrifying how those kind of things were actually happening. Like, this is a part of American history, and so many boys, especially black boys, died such unjustified deaths. I think this book actually took inspiration from a school in Florida specifically. And yeah, those are my thoughts. And because I'm kind of getting through the books pretty quickly, and I don't want to kind of finish on a negative note. Like, 3 stars isn't that great, so I think we're going to choose one more book. I hope it's not going to... I have a feeling it's going to be like a 600 pages mammoth, because I do have those kind of books in this jar, and nothing like that came up so far, so... Okay, let's see. Okay, I have something. I'm gonna show it to you first. Can you see anything? Looks like a short title because the note is quite small. Okay, let's see it. Okay, I knew it. Okay, it's a pretty long historical fiction, let me get it. Okay, we have Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. It doesn't look that long, but it's actually... I was right, 600 pages, almost 700 pages long. This is nice, 670 pages. Okay, yeah, let's do it, I guess. This was my undoing. As always, I will tell you the synopsis of this book after I read a bit of it. Yeah, this will take me more than a few days. I'm the problem. I think that's what it is. I think I'm just a hater and I cannot enjoy anything because why am I not enjoying this? I think I'm going to continue. This is not necessarily a DNF, but when I picked this up, I thought surely this would be like at least a 4-star. And I was happy that I picked it out of the jar, even though it's 600 pages long, because I had feeling at least we would finish this vlog on a positive note. And now I'm not so sure. And okay, little rant, but I have read 22 books this year. It is April, and I had 1 5-star, and in my head it doesn't even count because it was an Agatha Christie novel whom I know that I like, so in my head it doesn't count. I don't know why. Like, it's not a new discovery, you know what I mean? So I don't know, I feel like at this point I might never enjoy a book again. Like, that's how it feels. But okay, Great Circle. So let me tell you quickly the synopsis of this book. So I still don't know much, but when you read the synopsis of this book, it says it's about this female pilot who has decided to, what do you call it, like, go around the world on a plane, you know? So Great Circle, because she's doing the circle around the globe, right? And this is historical fiction, so it's set in first half of the 20th century. I think she's born in 1914 or something like this, so it kind of spans throughout quite a few years. And here's the thing, I am not that far into it, but I am 80 pages into the book, and it feels like we haven't even gotten to Miriam, that's the main character's name, I think. We still haven't gotten to her story yet. This was said in a weird accent, but... So basically, first things first, this book is focused on Miriam, but there's also a second timeline, kind of present-day timeline. I think it's set in like 2014, 2015. Oh yeah, we read from the perspective of Hadley, who is a Hollywood actress, and she is going to play Miriam in a movie, I think, based on her life. And so far, we start this book with this random lady christening a ship, and on that ship, Miriam's parents meet. So we first meet this random lady and her husband who owns the ship. That's the first perspective. Then we met Miriam's mother and follow her story, how she met Miriam's father. Then still at the very beginning, Miriam and her twin brother are born, but we're still focusing on their parents. Then we follow this tragedy when the ship sank and Miriam's mother was on it. This is still the beginning. So my problem is that so far, it's been 80 pages, we followed a bunch of different perspectives. It's been 80 pages, we still haven't gotten to Miriam's perspective. And the timeline, don't even get me started on the timeline. Especially when it comes to the present chapters. The timeline is just all over the place. It's very much non-linear. I don't know. Like, please tell me, why should I care? I have to say, I especially don't like the chapters set in the present, but I think those are very kind of sparse in between, so that's fine. Sparse? Spare? Whatever the correct word is. And I'm just gonna say it. If a book is over like 400 or 500 pages long, I need that length to be justified. Like, I really need the author to be able to convince me that this many words was needed to tell this story. And overall, I'm not talking about this book specifically, overall, more often than not, I am not convinced. Like, there's so many long novels where when I read them, I'm just like, okay, we could have lost at least 100 pages. And I feel like that's very common, especially with historical fiction. Sorry, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but historical fiction writers like to ramble, okay? I don't know, I don't hate it. I don't want to DNF it, but I'm not live, laugh, loving. When am I ever? I need a 5-star, okay? I'm tired. I've read over 20 books. Okay, listen. I don't even need a 5-star. I would be satisfied with a 4.5 star. I didn't even have that this year. Am I the problem? Are the books the problem? Is it me choosing the wrong books? I don't know. I need to go to sleep. Recently I actually read a book that I really thought would be a 5 star. Like, if I ever did a 5-star prediction, that book would be on that list. And it was Sirens and Muses. I don't remember the author's name. But unfortunately, I only ended up giving it 3.5 stars. And I had kind of similar problems that I have with this book, because we had 4 perspectives in that book. It's about this, like, 4 people from this art academy. It's set in New York in 2010-ish. It's around the, what is it called? The crisis, the market. I'll put it on the screen. And it has a lot of interesting discussions and interesting characters, but it felt so unfocused. I hate it when in a novel the author doesn't know what's actually important in the story. You know, like, does it make sense? We had 4 perspectives. We did not need all 4 perspectives. I think 2 perspectives from the 2 female characters who actually were in a relationship, I think, would have worked better. Let's just focus on the suffix, please. Give me a book about suffix in art school. But no, the author was like, what if I add 2 men that are kind of disposable? So I hate when a novel tries to do too much. I think that's what it is. I like when we are focused on 1 or 2 characters and we really get to know them. That's what I prefer, I think. So basically my take is, I prefer when a novel does less, but does it well. Is it too much to ask? I am going to continue. We'll see what happens.
Still a fan, even though salty. Hate to see you. What's the matter, but now you happy? Hate to see you happy if I'm not the one driving. I might kill my ex. I still love him, though. Rather be in jail than hell. No.
Many months later.
Hello, it has been many months since we last talked. I might do a whole video with like a little update where I've been, but a lot has happened and I haven't really been reading. I got into a huge reading slump and I never posted this vlog because I felt like it didn't really go well. Like I DNF'd 2 books. The one book that I read I only gave 3 stars and I felt like I was just so negative in that vlog that I didn't want to post it. Like this might come as a shock to you, but I don't enjoy being a bitch on the internet. So I didn't even do a final update when it comes to Great Circle. So unfortunately the update is that I ended up DNFing it. I don't remember how far I got into it. I'm pretty sure I read more than 100 pages. Hold on, I feel like I might have that information on Goodreads. Let me check. Oh yeah, DNF at 150 pages. So I got 150 pages into it and I do remember, yeah, this much. And I do remember that all of my critique that, like the things that I was criticizing in the vlog, that still stood, like those points were still valid. This book was trying to do too much in my opinion. Also the synopsis, okay, so I've read in one of the reviews on Goodreads that the actual plot, like her going around the world on a plane, that happens in the last like 50 pages or so, which is insane. If I actually read it and the actual plot from the premise actually happened in the last 50 pages, I would have been so angry, like I would have burned this book. So I'm glad I didn't continue, honestly. But I do feel like this isn't necessarily the fault of the book, it's just I feel like it's mismarketed, you know? Also, this might be personal preference, but I don't love when a story about like women's liberation focuses like almost solely almost exclusively on like her sexual liberation, which was kind of the same problem that I had with Poor Things, the movie. I don't know, I'm not saying that it's not important, but I just feel like there's a lot of other things to untangle in a patriarchal society, like a lot of other things we could be focusing on. And obviously I DNF'd it, so I don't know where this book is going, but from what I've read, that was my impression. And yeah, I do remember that the present day chapters were very like cliche and stereotypical. So that's the update. The reason why I'm back here is because I've decided to salvage this vlog and continue it. Basically, this vlog doesn't end until I find a book that I enjoyed. It doesn't have to be a 5-star, it doesn't even have to be a 4.5 star. I would be satisfied with a 4-star. So I am going to get my TBR jar and we're going to be pulling out books, and this vlog will end when I actually enjoy one of those books. We might have some other DNFs, but we will find a book that I like. So let me get the jar. Sorry, I had the AC on, not AC, the ventilator, so it might have been loud, but okay. Okay, who are you? I don't feel good about this. We have Exhalation by Ted Chiang. It's a kind of like science fiction collection of short stories. Let me get it. Yes, this is her. I don't have a good feeling about this, and I don't really feel like reading science fiction. And I do remember I read like the first page of this book and didn't love the writing style. Okay, so basically, if you didn't know, if you haven't watched like the first video in this series or like the announcement for this Read It or Unhaul It series, I basically decided that twice throughout the year I can put back the book that was chosen by the TBR jar. So I think this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm not reading this right now, this goes back into the jar because I don't really feel like unhauling it necessarily without reading it. It's just I'm not in the mood for that right now, and I don't want to get into another reading slump, so not this one, but something else. Okay. Oh! Interesting. Okay, The Ensemble by Aja Gabel or Gabel. I'm not sure. Let me get it. Okay, that's interesting. This is a book that I bought that not that many people have read, I think. It's about this group of 4 friends who are classical musicians. I don't really know much else. I don't know, I'm hearing 4 friends, so I'm guessing 4 different perspectives, and I was just criticizing another book, in this, not just, but like in this vlog I was criticizing Sirens and Muses about having too many perspectives. Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. Hopefully I will give you a better synopsis after I got a little bit into it. So, we'll see. Okay, hello, I'm here to give you an update, and it's a positive one. Who'd have thought? I'm really enjoying the Ensemble. I'm only like 80 pages into it. Yeah, I read the first part. This book is separated into 4 parts, and interestingly, before each part you have this list of pieces that the group is going to play in this specific part. Hopefully you can see. So it's a really fun experience, I have to say, to, you know, listen to those pieces while the author is talking about the characters playing those pieces. Does that make sense? I made it more complicated than it should be. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. So I'm still not sure what the plot is. I think it's going to be very character focused rather than plot focused, because so far in this book we are focusing on this group of 4 friends who are in a string quartet together. So we have 2 violin players, Jana and Britt, and 1 viola player, Henry, and 1 cello player, Daniel. And they are, you know, 20-something-year-olds. They're in their early 20s. They're currently like graduating from this, is it a conservatory? I think so. And they are playing as a quartet. It talks a lot about the future that they envision for themselves. They all come from different backgrounds, so it's interesting. It's interesting to me because I did play the piano for a few years. I'm not like, I'm very much an amateur. And actually when I was doing a sociology degree, I was thinking about doing my thesis on classical musicians, because I always was interested in sociology of work, and I find people who pursue this kind of career, you know, at university level, I found those people to be fascinating. I don't know if I can explain this well, but because this kind of career, in my head at least, in this day and age, isn't very like practical. Back in the day, obviously we didn't have like Spotify and like record players, so like if you wanted to listen to music, there had to be a person to play that music, right? To me, back in the day, maybe it made more sense to go into this kind of profession. But yeah, this is just a ramble. I'm not very knowledgeable about classical music, but I have to say this is my kind of book. It is a little bit pretentious, but it's my kind of pretentious. It does talk quite a lot about classical music. The author used to be a cellist, right? I think so. So it is written by someone who knows quite a lot about classical music. I don't think she pursued it at university. I think she did a writing degree, but she was a cellist for quite a few years. And there is a lot of talk about classical music here. And like, so far I'm enjoying it, but I'm not sure who I would recommend this book to. If you have like no knowledge about classical music or like music in general, I'm not sure how much you would enjoy it. Also, I like that the viola player is kind of considered a prodigy instead of a violin player. I'm not sure if this makes sense to you, but viola is definitely an underappreciated instrument and like butt of a lot of jokes. I think. But I do love the sound of viola. It's a little bit like, to me it's a bit richer and like warmer compared to a violin, so I really enjoy it. But from what I've heard, viola isn't really an instrument you kind of start with. You just kind of, most people start with violin and then change to viola because it's not, I don't know, it's not really a starting instrument. But yeah, this is neither here nor there. This was just to update you that I'm enjoying this book, I'm very happy about that, and hopefully this vlog will end with this book, unless something happens when I read the rest of it. So, I'll update you when I finish it. Okay friends, I finished the book. Also, before I dive into the review of the Ensemble, I just wanted to say that I put my books that I wanted to unhaul for the first time on Vinted, and I really didn't think they would sell, but like most of it got sold on the day that I put them up, so that's cool. I'm gonna do that more often from now on. I really needed to get rid of some books because I do not have the space for any more books. Anyway, the Ensemble. I might look like a fool because the things that didn't work for me in Sirens and Muses did work for me in the Ensemble. I am giving it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was a very slow-paced book, a very character-driven novel that focused on just the friendship of those four people and them kind of arranging their lives around music and trying their best to stay together for like many decades, because this spans out throughout their 20s, 30s and 40s. That's not a good look. Okay, the only thing that I didn't fully like, and I'm not sure if I'm being a bit nitpicky, but there was a character in this novel, like without any spoilers, there was a character who has decided to adopt a child, and she adopted a child from Ethiopia, I believe. And just the language around adoption was a little bit weird, maybe a little bit uncomfortable. I don't think I can find the passage right now, but like one character assumed that she was having a baby, that, you know, she was pregnant, and the character that was going to adopt said, "No, I'm getting a baby." And I was like, what? And just the fact that that child was Daphne, that was the child's name, was from Ethiopia, but her race was never mentioned, was just a bit weird. Like, it was giving, I don't see race, which is not a great approach. Like, I guess it's better than blatant racism, but it's still problematic. And the other kids in this novel, because like I said, we follow the characters throughout many years, so the characters do end up, some characters do end up having children. Daphne was the only character that didn't really have a personality. She was kind of shown the least in the novel. And I don't know, it was a little bit off-putting, because if you don't know how to write about characters' racial identity, like if it's different to your own, maybe don't write about that. Like just, I don't know, the way that it was completely ignored just rubbed me the wrong way. But I don't know, I didn't read any reviews that mentioned this, so am I just being sensitive? I'm not sure. So that is why I'm giving it a 4.5 star. Also, going back to Sirens and Muses, because those are two novels that both focus on artists and have 4 different points of view. And in one book I criticized that, while in this I found this narrative style to be very compelling and like well done. So I think the issue is that in Sirens and Muses, like I said, the author was trying to do too much, and while all 4 of the characters were like doing art, were in art school, 3 were students, 1 was a professor, but they were all doing very different things. 2 of them were doing like paintings, drawing, stuff like that, so like kind of traditional art stuff, and those are the characters that I wished we focused on. And there was another guy who was into like, I don't know what, performance art and like using technology in like an artistic way, but some people were like, oh, that's not art. And the 4th perspective was from a professor who had like his own like story, and I just feel like those 2 characters could have been like 2 separate novels, you know? While here we have 4 characters, 4 classical musicians who are in the same quartet, and they all play similar instruments, like string instruments, and they're all on this like journey together, which is why I feel like it worked much better for me, and it just felt more cohesive thematically also. So, okay, one more thing, because I forgot about something. In Sirens and Muses, it felt like the author had a clear goal in mind, and each character in the story felt like a placeholder for a different perspective. And because of that, they kind of didn't feel like real people to me. They were just characters to fulfill some kind of role in the story, which, like, I'm not saying it's a wrong approach to writing, I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily always work for me. So there's that. That is my review. Finally, I can finish this vlog. I don't know how it turned out, but I'm glad we ended up on a high note, because yet again, I'm excited about the TBR jar, because yet again, if you watch my previous episode many months ago, yet again, I'm like, man, I don't know when I would get to this book if not for the TBR jar, and I really enjoyed it. We're gonna ignore the 3 other books. We had 2 DNFs and 1 3-star, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get rid of all 3 of those books. But yeah, I do have some faith again in the TBR jar, so I might do another episode. I'll see what are the reactions, what are the comments, if people enjoyed it or not, because like the vast majority of this vlog I was very negative, and I think I was heading towards a reading slump, so I don't know. Anyway, the lighting is terrible. So, I hope you enjoyed it nevertheless, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. I love ending my videos like this, because you never know if there will be another video. Okay, bye!